So anyway, good morning. Lots going on. I want to give a few shout outs. It is the beginning, or it's almost the beginning of school. Some young people who are in charter schools have started school. So big shout out to you as you make your way to school. And I want to give a hearty shout out to all my young people across the city. Not just the city, but I got young folks in Denmark, and I want to give them a shout out. We'll be collaborating this year like we did last year. Hope we do an even better job because their time is different, so we would miss each other sometime. But shout out to my young folk in Denmark, and I also want to give a shout out to all my young people who are preparing for school. I met a young man yesterday. Actually, he was the son of, I call him nephew. He calls me auntie, Sean Potter. It was his son. And I think his name is Jaquan, if I remember correctly. So I asked him, how was he doing in school? How did he do in school? Smart kid. He said, I could do better. That was his answer. Not, okay, I could do better. So I said, I'll tell you what. This year, I want you, because school hasn't started, so if you get ahead of the game, do your homework every day, stay on top of everything, get to school early, stay late sometimes when you need help, and do some extra credit so that you get way ahead of everything. It's better to be ahead of it than at the end of the school year trying to make things up. And oh God, that's like crazy. I remember I did that one time, and I was trying to do all this extra credit work, and when I could have just stayed ahead of the game. So if you know you have to read, then, I always suggest people put the book in the bathroom. Every time you go in, read some, every time you get on the train or the bus, read your work, your lesson, whatever it is that you have to read. And sometimes even take a little note of something that you think is important, like dates and things like that. And why are we talking about this? Because our young people must be prepared to succeed in their education. So I know I said I was just giving shout outs, but I couldn't forget this young man. And he said, you know what? You're right. He said, I'm going to do everything as I get it. Like when I get an assignment, I'll do it as soon as I get home. Before you go out to play, before you turn the TV on, before you pump up the volume on the music, and definitely before you play the video games, all right? Let's get the work done. Let's get it in. Let's make this year a different kind of year. And those are just like, a few little tips. Now, my mother's probably listening, and she probably will say, she didn't do any of that. I did some of that. But looking back, and I was a good student, and it came easy for me. But it doesn't come easy for everyone. School is not always easy for everyone. So, and even if it is easy for you, don't take it for granted. Do your work. Learn something new. Challenge yourself. Amp up the game. Say, you know what? I love history. I know history. Well, learn a part of history you don't know. You know what I mean? Like surprise the teacher with some astonishing facts or something. Come in and, rule a lesson for a minute every once in a while. Not every time. The teacher would make her crazy. But anyway, big shout out to all my young people who are going back to school. And as you get those honors and those great grades, I want you to check in with me. Let me know what the report card is looking like. I don't have a whole bunch of money. Other than that, I'd say I'd pay for every A, but I don't have it like that. So, but I want you to get A's and let me know. So you can check in on the radio after the first marking period and let me know. And you can even come into the show. Show up at the studio on my show only. I can't tell you to show up at anybody else's show. Monday mornings from 8 to 9. You get here, we'll let you say a little something on the mic. All right, we got a caller calling in. Let's see. Good morning, caller. Who's on the line?
This is Jay Morrison.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Queen. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Let me turn you up just a little bit. All right. Jay Morrison, why don't you tell folks who you are?
Okay. I am a civil rights activist who has kind of stepped away or stepped aside from a active real estate career as a real estate investor, celebrity realtor, and an entrepreneur. I've kind of put my businesses on autopilot to full-time fight for our people. And I'm the author of Hip Hop to Homeowners, How We Build Wealth in America, also the author of the upcoming book, The Solution, The African American Blueprint to Liberty, Justice, and Repair. And, inspirational story.
Wow. So let's start with, why did you put your career on hold? Why did you do that?
Well, through the progression of things, and I guess it started, the trickle effect started back when a few years ago, I got hired as the first African-American male at prominent property Sotheby's International Realty in Bergen County, New Jersey, working in the Bergen County market in Alpine, at that time was America's richest zip code. And so I left flipping houses in Newark and the inner city in New Jersey from my investment career. I also was a mortgage banker. I got hired at Sotheby's. And as I went into that demographic, I still was doing a program in high schools called Hip Hop to Homeowners, where I would go into schools and I would teach inner city kids, our youth, financial literacy using a DJ and music and all that kind of stuff. So I would teach them about the credit and real estate and all that stuff.
Oh, great.
So during one business day, I could be, talking to Westside High School in Newark or Malcolm X Shabazz High School in Newark, or doing a youth program in Brooklyn. But then, later in the day, be in Alpine touring a $56 million home or a $20 million home. And as I've seen the cultural difference and just the level of disparity between our community and other communities, and just the wealth gap and the social gap, it just started to wake me up. And that's led to a progression of getting introduced to other civil rights matters. And I saw that my talents can be used better than just building my own businesses. And my same business skills can be used in the civil rights fight to be a critical thinker and solutions person for our community.
Wow, that's great. So tell me, how are things coming along? What accomplishments have you made in putting your career on hold, but working for the improvement and betterment of our community? Tell me about that.
Well, I'm definitely, have built some great relationships, and outside of that, through all the building in our community, I mean, I've definitely identified what I feel are some clear-cut paths that we need to take as a people in order to unify ourselves, in order to seek justice. And we haven't officially launched, but we're organizing a political party for our people, the Black Tea Party, where it's our motto is liberty and justice for all.
Wait a minute, slow it down. The Black Tea Party.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what that's going to look like.
Okay, well, in being in solution mode, and understanding that we suffer from political oppression, one would think that we need political power and political unity. And so a lot of times what I realize is that, even for myself, is that we sit back and we wait for some leader somewhere to create the things that we need. Like, we just hope that somebody's going to do it. So we sit back and we just say, oh, we need this. We need this. We need this. And even reading Marcus Garvey's Life and Lessons this weekend, Marcus Garvey said, if we are to have, if a man doesn't have employment, we have to create a job for him. If we don't like our political situation, we have to change that situation. So the Black Tea Party is to be a voice and a political party for that concentrates on the issues of our people, meaning liberty, justice, and repair. So we're going to tackle reform in regards to political policies. So we have some great reform models that we're working on. One is a Fair Inmate Act called PRAE, the Prison Reform Economics Act. We're gonna fight for fair wage for inmates. Or I was once incarcerated. I did 2.5 years in prison. I spent 10 years.
How much time in prison?
2.5 years.
Okay.
Between Rikers Island, upstate New York, Maryland prison. I did 3 felonies in 3 different states. So before my real estate career, I spent 10 years in the streets and bumping my head. And so that also added to my civil rights fight is the fact that I know the lowest of the lows. I grew up below the poverty line. I was a high school dropout and a 3-time felon who was able to then also transform and do really well in corporate America. So I understand.
How were you able to transcend the whole stereotype that comes with being a felon, the barriers that come with being a felon? That whole haven't been locked up but now locked out kind of situation. How were you able to transcend that?
Well, I break it down in the way I teach it is in attitude, appearance, and ownership. And the main part is really having really good social skills. So my attitude, the one that didn't allow me to tell people told me, you can't have a real estate license with felonies. You can't do this with felonies. You can't do that with felonies. My attitude was always one of optimism, was always one of what I can do, proving people wrong, being a winner, being a fighter, right? So that was one. Obviously, I had to have that kind of high morale in order to do so. And then I understood that having good communication skills, being able to speak the right way to get into those worlds, being able to dress the right way, you get to rebrand yourself. And so that's also what we're teaching in the Black Tea Party. So outside the Prison Reform Act, we're going to fight for fair wage for inmates to be able to combat mass incarceration. The reason why they're incarcerating us at such a high rate and creating biased policies and biased policing to lock us up is because ever since our enslavement ended in 1865, they created a convict leasing system and black codes and vacancy laws and just had targeted laws to lock the Africans back up.
And the industrialized prison system to feed corporate America.
They always wanted our free and cheap labor. So if we fight for inmates to have fair wages while incarcerated and let taking their freedom away be their punishment and not the enslavement, because we know the 13th Amendment says that enslavement was abolished except you commit a crime. So they still had a clause for enslavement in our amendment, which is prison.
Right.
So we allow for.
Doesn't that still exist?
Yes.
That
correct.
still exists today, and that's what young people. I'm just going to slow you down for a minute because I think it's important. I talk about incarceration and the issues around incarceration. And I think one thing that young people don't get, that one, there's no badge of honor in going to prison, and 2, they are waiting for you to come. Not only are they waiting, that there are certain laws, just like you said, that make it so that you will come. It's almost guaranteed that certain numbers will come because they guarantee those that own private prisons that they will have a 90% fill rate. And that means that 90% of the prison will be full. And if you ever see the portfolio that they give out give to those who are interested or may have some interest in building or owning a prison, one of the first things that you see is that prisons do well. These prisons will do well even in economic downturn, meaning no matter what the economy, the prisons will be profitable for those who invest in building one. So we want to make sure that young people don't make folk rich, get out of harm's way, that kind of thing. So,
our youth call, hustling the trap, but the real prison is the trap. It's to ensure that we work for these people for $1 a day, or 30 cents a day, or $9 a month. And the same people that invest in the prisons are the same people that invest in the politicians that create the laws that put us in jail. we have to be smarter than that and understand that there's other opportunities for us. So another initiative under the Black Tea Party is our African American repair curriculum. And so we have a 30-point curriculum of social repair and economic repair, covering everything from self-development, African history, African American history, parenting, drug counseling, inmate reentry, all the way to credit building, home ownership, real estate investing, stocks, bankruptcy. So basically, we understand our community has a lack. We have a generational education deficiency.
So let me ask you. So why do you see a need to create another party? You know, we have the Republican Party, we have the Democratic Party, we have the Liberal Party. Why do you see a need, the Independent Party? Why do you see a need to create another party rather than join in with a party that exists and begin to do the work that you're doing?
Well, because I don't believe in insanity, which is doing the same thing, expecting different results. So far, our community is 30-0 in 396 years. We haven't won 1 year. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to actually solve the issues that we have, we're going to need to do a lot of different things. And it's basically like a corporate turnaround is the approach I'm taking to civil rights activism. We can't continue to keep doing the same things, expecting that they're going to change the way they are. Those parties right now don't hold our best interests. So if we galvanize our vote and we create the policies that we need to see affected and changed, the laws, the amendments, everything that focuses on us, and it's just not a political party, but it's also a social empowerment party as well. Mm-hmm. So we're going to repair our community ourselves, right? So I believe in government accountability and personal accountability. That's the way we get repaired. So we need to repair ourselves, use economic curriculum, and educate ourselves on things that we don't know so we can be more well-rounded and penetrate economically better.
So let me ask you, for white folk who want to join this party, is there an entry point for them to join this party, or is it just for black folks?
Yes, there is. I mean, it's open to all. We have an initiative for white folks called Whcr, W-A-A-R, which is White Americans Against Racism. And they will have an opportunity to petition and join our fight for and I thought about being more general, and I get all that, but we have to be specific to the needs of the African American people. We are a unique people, which I call New African people, the descendants of African slaves in America. And us as New Africans, we have a specific mistreatment, a specific trauma. We have a specific experience here in America, unlike any other immigrant to come to this country. Any other. Ours is totally different. So therefore, our needs need to be tackled intentionally and very specifically. And that's hence, what the party is here to do, is to tackle our repair. Like, we are the nation of people who aren't recognized as a nation by the Supreme Court. We are the nation of Africans who aren't recognized as citizens by the World Court. We're the nation of people that hasn't gotten repair or restitution. Although the Native Americans, Japanese Americans, and German Jews all got repair for way less of crimes, or at least years of the same type of treatment and crimes. So we have to be very intentional about standing up for our justice, our repair, not only the changing of these laws, but the empowerment of our people. We're losing right now. That's the whole thing. Our team is losing. If you look at this like a basketball team, the New African team, well, like I said, we're down. Like, the score is 0 to 396. We've been last place in every category that's positive anyway in this country for 396 years, and we've been mistreated. We were enslaved for 246 years, and been mistreated through Jim Crow and everything else for 100 years, and we're still going through police brutality and basic genocide today. So it's like, when do we say enough's enough and really galvanize ourselves? And I think it starts around unity.
So how do you expect to draw the attention of young people into this party, or people in general? Is it only open to young African Americans? Are you looking to draw older African Americans away from the parties that they are already affiliated with? How do you plan to engage people to come into your party?
Well, okay, yeah, there's really three strong entry points. One is going to be a solution handbook. Right? So my book is going to be about 20 pages, but it's going to break down our history in a very short way where young people can read it, understand. And I'm just new to this, so I approach it from, what woke me up. So when we highlight our mistreatment during our enslavement era, Jim Crow era, and post-Jim Crow, and then that wakes people up when they really understand what we've been through and how it's all been kind of compromised for our interests that have been compromised. So we do that, and then we lay out an actual solution plan. The way we get the young people is going to the high schools and teaching this 10-week prepare curriculum. When you wake young people up to different career opportunities, you wake them up on how to speak better, dress better, and what the implications are. When you bring in role models for them, you tell them how they can get money in other ways and make it cool. When you give them social repair, we do that in the high schools, we'll galvanize the young people to fight for their rights.
Right. Let me ask you something. When you say speak better, what do you mean?
What I mean is having better communication skills and knowing the time and the place to use your slang, or a time and a place to use more proper or corporate dialect or dialogue. Understanding one big thing for us is conflict resolution and anger management. That's something else we teach in our repair curriculum, is we got to understand how to control our temper, control our anger, and how to resolve conflicts without being violent and hostile. So all of these things, a lot of that's communication. I mean, we're all going to get pissed off at some point in time, but it's all about how you deal with it, how you communicate with the other party. So,
I have a way that I look at language. I was an English major in college, so my degree is in English. But and so I often look at what people call the proper way to speak, and I'm just interjecting this as just another way of thinking. But sometimes we give too much to what people call the King's English. And yes, we should be able to, what I call code switch, be able to switch the codes, meaning switch the language depending on where we are. But that it's really nothing wrong with us having a language within our community, within the groups that we hang out with, within the groups that we work with, because even the codes change when, and you probably know this as well, when black folks work on a job together, the language changes when they're together by themselves.
Absolutely.
Right? And when you go into that board meeting, the language changes. And so it's just really a changing of the code. I just wanted to interject that I don't think that that's anything that needs repair. I think that we just have to learn how to use the codes that apply to the general population so that everybody understands the same thing, and then also hold on to our codes in our community that keep us in communication. Because what often happens is that we get out of communication. We get out of communication in our own community. Sometimes even trying to do the best thing, we get out of communication. So I just feel like we have to hold on to those codes that keep us in communication in our community. I love the fact that I have the ability to stand on the corner with the brothers and chop it up a little bit and understand the language. I mean, I understand it. I know all of the slang, what they're talking about. There's no veil over my eyes. I know it. But I also love that I have the ability to go and meet in the mayor's office, meet with, commissioners and heads of state and, all of that, and have the language or the codes available to me in my toolbox to use in that arena. Never do I want to stay in that that having to use their language every single moment of my life. I love coming in my neighborhood and relaxing with language. So I just wanted to interject that. So,
well, when you look at it, and I like the way you coined it as a code switch. When you look at it, that is a form of repair because it's not something that we know. If we don't know it and we don't know to do it, and it's not practiced often, it's something that we have to interject into our community. The average youth or the average person coming out of an inner city urban environment doesn't know how to make that switch.
right. So it's really not, I interjected that to just say it's really not a repair because nothing is wrong with our language, right? If I'm able to communicate with you and you understand and you are able to talk back to me and I understand, that is communication. Now, when we get in other places and people don't understand, you got to chill with that, or I'm holding you down. They don't understand that language, so then communication doesn't happen with that particular person. So,
but if you're only communicating with your group of people isn't in charge of most of the economy.
No, you didn't let me finish. So what I was going to say was that it's not repair. It's to learn that language. Just like we learn, I'm working on trying to learn Spanish. When I'm in the cab and I can't fully communicate with the cab driver who speaks Spanish, then that's really not clear communication. So all I'm saying is that there's nothing wrong with our language. We don't need to repair it. We just need to learn how to use, for those that do, need to learn how to use the language of the general population so that they can be in full communication for their own survival, their own needs, and be able to express themselves in a way that they can help generate what they need and the change that they'd like to see in our society. And I just, put that interjection there because we have to be careful about how we look at who we are and how we are and how we communicate and not take away from who we are in trying to be a part of the bigger society.
Well, yeah, and the way we teach it is you have to take it all in context. The way we teach it is coming from a place of relating to the youth on their terms, in their language, from my perspective. And, same as you, I go to Baltimore or Brooklyn or Newark, wherever, and I could kick it with the Bloods and Crips on the block, and I can go in any boardroom and do what I have to do. So it's teaching the diversity, and it's teaching it's just overall communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding
I'm clear.
Salutation and those kind of things. So when you put all that into the rest of our curriculum comprehensively, it is repair because it's filling in the gaps of the things that we don't know, or in the things that we need improvement on, which is that particular portion is just overall communication skills. But we do cover African history, New African values, African American history. We do cover, all those things that stay true to who we are. We're not saying change and become a European or any other kind of person. We're just saying understand how to be able to shake and move in different circles and different environments.
Right. I have a young man I had invited in studio. He wants in on this conversation. His name is Brian Hallow Dreams Henry. He's from Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, and he did show up today. I told him, I said, look, show up in studio. So he's here. And he wanted to comment on, like he said, let me get in on the conversation. So I'm going to introduce, I'm introducing him into the conversation. I want to say, Brother Morris, that, I'm really grateful that you called in. You have a parade coming up on, what day is that?
September 7th, the Caribbean Day Parade in Brooklyn on Labor Day.
Right. And you're really wanting young folk in particular, but some of us old heads could come too, right? And hang out with you, right? Walk with you.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I like to make the distinction so that we know, everybody that wants to come walk with you. I'm going to try my best to get there and bring some young people with me. We have a movement called the I Am Peace Movement. It's part of my organization, Street Corner Resources. You got to come uptown once school starts, too, so that you can engage with some of the young people at the schools where my organization does workshops and that kind of thing, so that
Absolutely.
You can talk about your books and talk a little bit about your Black Tea Party. And let folks know what your vision is and how they can become a part of that. So with that, I'm going to let Brian, because I'm always looking for young people to have voice, and I am going to always challenge those things that I think need a little challenging. You all don't like to be challenged, but you'll be all right, because what happens is in being challenged in what you are creating, you're ready to defend it when other people will really tear you apart.
Absolutely.
Trust me. So, I can feel the energy shift when I challenge, but it's okay. I don't run.
Iron sharper iron.
Exactly. And you know what? And I see that, even like with Reverend Sharpton, I'm part of the National Action Network family, and I'm glad to be part of that. But I hear him challenge us often, and I don't always like it, but it's a push-up. You know what I mean? It makes me get sharp about whatever it is I say that I'm about, and make me even sometimes I have to examine and abandon what I thought was like the best thing and say, I need to rethink this.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I always leave a place for me to grow on one, right? Because what I think may be the best thing may not be sometimes. And so when I think about it, I'm like, okay, was this for me or was this for the people? Right? And sometimes it's for me and it's not the best thing for the people. So, thank you for letting me challenge you. I'm going to let Brian get some. He wanted, I think, to probably ask you a question or so, or make a comment in regards to what we were talking about. Brian.
Well, good morning. Before we start, I would actually I'm probably going to be involved in everything you just spoke about because it very much.
I think that
me.
You two should meet.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
And definitely hook up and see how, you all can work together. So I was thinking that even before you got here. So good. So Brian, because of time, give us your
My rundown.
Well, just tell Brother Morris and the listening community a little bit about who you are, just in
Oh, quickly, Brian Henry. I've worked with the Brooklyn Arts Council. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Crazy Youth. I teach dance from here to there to here. I have a good dance history. I've done some Soviet dance, season 8. I very much just look for time to involve myself and how can I be used in the next generation, because I feel like those who thought I would be a failed youth were wrong. And then I'm here still proving them wrong. And I'm seeing how much more I can prove them wrong.
Okay.
And then I guess from the conversation, speaking about communication, I just recently did a contemporary piece which was based on DAP line, which is based upon the Vietnamese War and how within the own soldiers communication wasn't even verbal, it was actually handshakes. So even the way that we speak on gang handshakes, how it causes, it actually started at that time period because a lot of the black soldiers didn't want to kill the Vietnamese soldiers because they saw them as black as well.
Right. So they had a certain kind of handshake that they did.
And this was communication, which is why I agree with you 100% on the fact that, communication, it shouldn't be limited to the fact of where you are. You should know how to speak and when to speak, but you should always know all forms of communication. And I guess it just really struck me because I found it funny how you can take certain words or uses of words and downplay them by depending on who uses them and where you are, rather than the fact of we all started at caveman talking to begin with. So who validates what as what? But,
Go ahead. Jump in.
I was saying correct. Yeah, when you look at it, there's so many ways to even. From how you nod your head or how you handshake that says something, right, to you or to another person, and right in this society, it's really those who are controlling the economics are controlling their education or their communication standards. So it's just for us to learn how to play the game, use it to our advantage, and to be able to build our own community and build our own culture.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. But it is so having their own, I guess, communication skills, I feel like is very valid, and it should be there because it gives them a sense of self. Because I guess in this time period during the Vietnamese wars, a lot of soldiers were fighting their own because they didn't want to go fight in the Vietnamese war. They didn't want to go over there, and they were forced to. And in order to even speak with one another in front of a commanding officer or so, they had to do the most extremist of handshakes, and it became a whole secret language to the point now in the Army you can't even do handshakes anymore. Like, you can get in like really in trouble for things like this because of such an uproar that it caused, because they tried to silence people. And
That's
then,
interesting.
and I guess as a youth myself, I do find that we're all looking for something to feel tied to, connected to, something to feel like, yeah, this is ours, ownership, like pride in a sense, because it's hard to have to be prideful in things these days, especially with the fact that, you know, Michael Jordan himself was one of the dudes who just now, I guess, put money down on a jail facility.
Who?
Jordan.
Oh, that's what someone said. I don't know that to be fact.
Yeah, this is a conversation, and I'm like,
Yeah,
imagine
but
so.
I've heard that 50 Cent as well has investments in private rights.
Their portfolio is tied to it.
Say that again?
I believe their portfolios are tied to it. Their investment, their stock portfolios.
Right. I'd like to find out more about that. I don't want to put things out there that I haven't seen to be fact. But we do know, too, that there are some unions and big corporations who are invested in the privatization of private prisons, and have made these investments based on people who manage the corporation's portfolio, so to speak, like you just said, Brother Morris. So I'd like to find out more about it, but I think definitely our young people, between you and Brian and the whole host of other young people that I know that are doing great things and want to do even more, that you all need to connect, some of you, and not just by borough, but I mean across the borough, and engage as many young people as you can. We have to figure out, how do we get all of these young minds in a place where we can encourage further upliftment. I'm loving it. I love that we are talking about some positive and powerful things. I love the things that you're doing, Brother Morris, and I'm going to try my best to join you in the parade. I love parades, so I'm going to try my best to join you in the parade, and but also to join young people together. I'm going to see what I can do to pull you and other young people and Brother Brian together to begin to create some of the things that you talked about, because it's nothing but positive. I don't have to agree with every single thing, but I do think that we are in a place right now where our young people need a whole host of things, right? And they need to see other young people doing something great and good, because the negative stuff is available 24/7. I saw about 18 young people on 140th Street arrested the other day. And when the police, it was clear it was an organized arrest, and that they had planned to pick them up. They had the vans ready. These are kids who had been, hanging out and gambling, and I guess neighbors were calling the police on them. And I think the police also thought that there were some other things going on, but they went in the van so passively. They stood and turned around to be handcuffed on the wall, just very, very passive. I mean, the look on their face was like, we're used to this, like we know the drill. Right. And they just stood up when they were told. They said, first the officer said, sit down and don't move, stay right there. They didn't move. And then they said, stand up and turn around. And they stood up and turned around and were handcuffed. And then they said, get in the van. And it just seemed so much like a procedure, like they were just so used to it. So I know that, young people have become accustomed to certain behaviors in their community. A lot of them are negative. And we have to change up the game. And it sounds like that both you and Brian are kind of on the same page about some of the things that needs to happen. You call it repair. I believe that there are some things that really need to be fixed. You're right. and we really have to stop this whole pipeline to prison direct from our stoops and corners and schools. And so I think you both could have a voice in that. Our time, Brother Morris, is just about up. Tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, thank you, Queen. Yeah, if anyone wants to contact me, you can go to jmorrison.net, and there's a general contact there on my website. For those interested in the rollout of the Black Tea Party and participating, you can go to blackteaparty.org. And just for youth that want to see what we've done, or anyone who wants to see what we've done in the past, you can go to joinymc.org, which has been our current youth empowerment organization. And we look forward to building with like minds and progression for our people.
Okay, great. And if folks, because I'm thinking folks are going to want to walk with you in the parade,
Yes.
is there a particular color you're wearing? What should they do? If they want to walk with you, how do they meet up? How do they do the meetup with you?
Yeah. So if you want to walk in the parade, we can probably squeeze some last-minute people in day of, but the best thing to do would be to register today. It's free to register. It's newafricansunite.com, and it's like Africans with a K, newafricansunite.com. We're going to be wearing red, black, and green. The walk is about the Caribbean Day Parade and us walking under the red, black, and green flag, our Black Liberation flag, and just supporting our heritage.
Okay, and they can bring their flags, and if they have a drum or tambourine, and make some noise, right? Some good noise.
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to have some fun. We're going to celebrate with the other Caribbean and African nations or descendants of Africa. And anyone wants to follow me on Instagram or Twitter also is at Mr. J. Morrison.
Morrison, I had shortened your name. I'm so sorry about that.
I was on correct. I was waiting to the end now.
You going to straighten me out? Don't feel bad. Reverend Sharpton always, well, no, I'm not going to say always. Once in a while he gets it right and people start clapping, but he always calls me Sister Shakur. And so he has basically changed my last name. So anyway, our time is up, Brother Morrison. Thank you so much. Brian, thank you for being with us as well and joining the conversation. Hopefully you'll come back and hang out with us again.
Most definitely.
And Brother Morrison, I hope to get you in studio at some point.
Yes, ma'am. I'd love to. I'd love to come to Harlem.
Okay, great. Peace and blessings. Have a great day. Continue to do things in a great way, and definitely stay on purpose and be mindful, even if the mind is full. That's it for us. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings, man.
Morning.
All right, it's a wrap for us, and Anthony's in studio, so with a tie on, looking sharp. All right. We're out the way. Peace and blessings. Keep it locked right here. WHCR 90.3 FM. Peace.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Don't touch that dial. Keep it locked on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
I'll pick you up after school.
You and your family are connected by routine, and you stick to it. But what if a disaster strikes without warning? What if your day's routine is disrupted and you can't reach your family? Have you planned for that? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, be ready. Get a kit. Make a plan. Be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
September is National Preparedness Month. WHCR 90.3 FM, the City College of New York, and Harlem Hospital invite you to Harlem Preparedness Day on Tuesday, September 22nd from 12 noon to 4 p.m. There will be information on evacuation procedures, the new flood zones in Harlem, first aid care, emergency procedures for the disabled, go bags, a farmer's market, giveaways, and more. Music provided by a few of WHCR's hottest R&B and house DJs. That's Harlem Emergency Preparedness Day, Tuesday, September 22nd from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Held on the Adam Clayton Powell Jr. State Office Building Plaza, located at West 125th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard.
Explore Harlem's newest dining experience, Sushi Inoue and Sake Bar. Sushi Inoue offers a wide variety of Japanese culinary delights. Dishes include cherry shrimp tofu salad, maguro bluefin tuna, shiromi whitefish, as well as shellfish and eel, just to name a few. Relax at the sake bar or watch the skillful chef prepare your meal before your very eyes. Sushi Inoue, Sushi and Sake Bar is located at 381 Lenox Avenue at the corner of 129th Street. You want to eat healthy? Cut down on the fried and cut down on the starches. Try Sushi Inoue, Sushi and Sake Bar. It's available to cater your next event. For hours of operation or more information, call 646-766-0555. That's 646-766-0555.
Domestic violence and abuse can happen to anyone, yet the problem is frequently ignored, excused, or denied. According to an article by the Huffington Post, 24 women per minute experience violence with their partner. According to the hotline.org, between 55 and 95% of women in 10 different countries, including the United States, who had been physically abused had never contacted non-governmental organizations, shelters, or the police for help. Domestic violence has become a worldwide epidemic. If you are a victim of domestic violence or if you know someone who is being abused, you don't have to be afraid to tell. You can contact WARM. WARM stands for We All Really Matter and is located right here in Harlem. You can contact them at 347-346-6210 or visit their website at www.weallreallymatter.org. WARM will help you heal from and leave an abusive relationship. They will also help you transition from a shelter and rebuild your life. Again, that number is 347-346-6210.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Hello?
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Good morning. It's sunshine and 77 degrees in Harlem. This is Billy Fawcett with the WHCR 90.3 News. Additional information on an item previously reported. You recall that 2 weeks ago a fire broke out at 3333 Broadway and 22 people were injured, including 10 firefighters in a fire. Community Board 9 and the 3333 Broadway Tenants Association request donations in the form of clothing, shoes, bedding, canned goods, and toiletries. All donations can be dropped off at 3333 Broadway, Tower A Community Room. If you have any items to donate, please contact Francisco Polanco at 212-866-5809. That's 212-866-5809. On the eve of the U.S. Open, Serena Williams prepares to affirm her reign as the greatest women's tennis player of all time. In a statement that was both expected, yet still somewhat surprising, world number 3 and 5-time Grand Slam champion Maria Sharapova withdrew from the U.S. Open on Sunday, about 18 hours before the tournament was set to begin. Serena's total and utter dominance over Sharapova has been well documented. Serena lost to a then 17-year-old Sharapova in the 2004 Wimbledon final, and then again in that season's year-end World Tennis Association championships. Since then, however, the two have played 17 times, and Serena has won all of them. Yes, all of them. We remember 10 years ago the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, which struck New Orleans and the Mississippi coastlines. The storm left 1,800 people dead, and thousands are still dealing with the tragedy. A state lawmaker Thursday unveiled a plan to tackle homelessness, drug use, and crime on the 125th Street and Lexington Avenue corridor. Assemblyman Robert Rodriguez's plan calls for increased police presence, removing elevated subway grates that homeless people use as beds, passing legislation restricting the number of methadone clinics in the area, and enforcing new synthetic marijuana legislation. His announcement came at a news conference after the NYP stated they would create a Times Square unit, increasing the number of officers in the tourist-saturated area to 100 from 47, as legally topless women are increasingly mingling with costumed characters seeking money uptown. Uptown problems deserve equal attention. Harlem Representative State Assemblyman Keith Wright, State Senator Bill Perkins, and Representative Charles Rangel said at the news conference at 125th Street and Lexington Avenue, if we can get a fraction of the attention that is currently being paid on Times Square, we can make a change in this corridor. It's more important than people walking around naked, Rangel said. If we get naked and run around, we'll get more attention. The NYPD currently deploys 4 to 9 officers to the 125th Street corridor throughout the day. Police sources said that while residents say they'd like to see more, a recent addition of officers has helped. President Barack Obama on Monday will officially restore Denali as the name of North America's tallest mountain, siding with Native Americans in Alaska that ended a 40-year battle over what to call a peak that has been known as Mount McKinley. Renaming the mountain was in the favor, if you will, of Native Americans in Alaska. Alaska natives had long before called the mountain Denali, meaning the high one. In 1975, the state of Alaska officially designated the mountain as Denali, and has since been pressing the federal government to do the same. It's 77 degrees, temperatures high in the 90s today, hot, hazy, and humid. More news at 6 p.m. Bulletins and alert as they occur. This is Bill DeFosse, WHCR 90.3 News. And now, back to you.
You're listening to WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright,
morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mental Health for Better Living. I'm your host, Dr. Leon Dickerson. Mental Health for Better Living is a show that explores the challenges to mental well-being and as a collective group of concerned individuals, both lay and professional, together we address multiple mental health problems and then focus on solutions as they impact the individual, the family, spiritual life, and our community. You can also listen to the show by logging on to www.whcr.org. That's www.whcr.org. Just click on the Listen Live button, and you can watch us right here in the studio. I'm a psychotherapist with an office right here in the village of Harlem, and I will provide more information about my practice at the end of the show. Today we have on the show returning guests, Mr. Stanley Scrivens, Mr. Johnny H. Williams. Mr. Williams was born on October 24th, 1948. He joined the military on January 10th, 1967. During the course of time, he landed in the Republic of Vietnam and made it through the 1968 Tet Offensive. Many years later, after leaving the service, many jobs, and living the life of an alcoholic and a drug addict, Mr. Williams was blessed to recover from alcohol and drugs. He entered college and became a leader and an advocate for veterans, and he is the founder of Help Is On the Way. Mr. Williams studied and is concerned with those veterans who are suffering from PTSD, that's post-traumatic stress disorder, which is the acronym. And Johnny is also the author of many books under the same name: Help Is On the Way, Help Is On the Way 2, The Mustard Seeds, and When Change Comes, Good or Bad, Will You Be Ready? Mr. Johnny Williams, welcome to Mental Health for Better Living.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure being here. God is good, and we're trying our best to help veterans in every single way, shape, or form that they should be helped in.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mr. Stanley Scrivens, Veterans Outreach Specialist. I'm going to take a few minutes to read your biography. Mr. Scrivens was born and raised in New York City. Stanley is a veteran who spent 3 years in the Marine Corps. He left the Corps with an honorable discharge and with a basketball scholarship. Mr. Scrivens attended Harvard Williams Smith College, Hunter College, and obtained his KSAC-T at the Outreach Training Institute supported by Easter Seals. Mr. Scrivens suffered an injury in the military that required many trips to the Veterans Hospital. This experience at the VA exposed him to the plight of his fellow veterans. At some point, Easter Seals asked Mr. Scrivens to find out if other veterans in the program were interested in the Easter Seals Senior Community Service Employment Program that he is now participating in. Mr. Scrivens was eventually, Welcome to the show, Mr. Scrivens.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Today is the first Monday of the month in which we designate and focus on veterans issues. And we have had on the show veterans to share their experiences in the military as well as their struggle to adjust to civilian life once discharged. This morning, we're going to have a discussion around housing problems that exist and are experienced by veterans right here in the country they have fought and died for. America is the greatest country on the face of the earth. Why is that? Why is that? I'll tell you why. It's because of the brave men and women who have put their lives on the line, who have fought and died for our country in all the wars: World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Grenada, Panama, Lebanon, Operation Enduring Freedom, which is Afghanistan, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and the military's anti-drug civil cultivation efforts in South America. So despite our problems, Americans live better than most people on the face of the earth, and that is because of the brave men and women, who have risked their lives, and many have given their lives for our country. Many are disabled. Many are suffering from, as Johnny is very, very concerned with, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And we are not putting anybody down because there are a lot of great people out there that are working with this group of people, but not enough is being done when 22 veterans commit suicide each day. Not enough is being done. And when I make that statement, I'm not talking to any particular group because everybody is doing the best they can. But we need to now bring more attention, okay,